I had a chip on my shoulder. I was like, you know what? I want to crack through that glass ceiling, muster up the courage to strike a conversation with someone that lived a very different life from me.
Socioeconomic difference of like, I had no access to those people.
I've disregarded, neglected my health for so many years. So I'm surprised that my body held up as long as it did. I could get choked up actually saying this all.
Everyone, welcome to Ambition Aligned. I'm Devin Coombs, CPA, MBA, ex-Google and Deloitte, and currently a CAO and CFO advisor and an advisor to startups in the Silicon Valley. Today, we're talking to my good friend Jotham. From immigrant childhood to battling corporate norms, Jotham's story is proof that an underdog mentality can redefine your path. Join us as we uncover how to build a company from the ground up and his journey from immigrant to accountant to CEO, as well as a surprising reveal for his next chapter in his journey. Let's dive in. Hey, Jotham, really appreciate you coming on. It's really a pleasure. And I think our audience would be really interested in just hearing a little bit about yourself. How would you describe your journey from where you started to becoming a CEO after becoming an accountant?
Yeah, first off, Daniel, thanks for having me here. It'd be a pleasure to be on your show here. And, I guess I have to first ask you a question, like how far do you want me to go back? Like from the initiation point of my career or, further back than that?
Further back. I want, where do you think your story starts?
All right.
Like how do you tell it in your head?
All right. So now that you're giving me permission to do that, I'm going to take it way back because and I'm going to try to be brief about this and concise too, because it does kind of tie in together. So yeah, I think I mentioned this to you during my podcast recording, but my family and I immigrated from the Philippines when I was 8 years old. And so growing up in my childhood, it was, definitely not in the most eloquent of neighborhoods. Let's put it that way. Obviously just trying to get up to speed on like the language, the culture and so on, what was challenging. But add to that, this twist of growing up in a, community that wasn't as affluent. And I think what that really highlighted for me and just, I think I've shared this with other podcast guests before too, where we think life stories. Seeing our people work hard around us, fellow immigrants, my parents, obviously, and family. We've wanted to make the most out of the opportunity despite the subpar circumstances, right? And so that's exactly what I set my heart to do. And so throughout school and college, I was one of those guys, Devin, that worked 2 jobs at a time at college because I just needed to make it happen. One thing that I always felt I was limited in when I was going through school and college, because I didn't have the great, super great education. I mean, my school in high school wasn't like super bad, but it wasn't like, top notch either. But I always felt that it would be very hard for me to break through kind of like the corporate scene and the corporate environment. In other words, I thought I was destined for like a blue collar job, which is fine. Like, my family has been able to support my family with, very respectable and high earning blue collar jobs. But for me, I wanted to break through on the corporate side. And, I kind of looked at myself and I was like, well, wait a minute, like these aren't the type of people that go on and, become CFOs or CEOs. But in its discovery and thankfully some of the schools that I went to had really great way to help us explore different careers. Like I felt accounting was one that kind of offered that entry point to that world that I wanted to, set a career in. And, that's how kind of like the fun in accounting started. So I think that's kind of like the inception point, so to speak, for my accounting journey.
And so how did you get exposed to accounting I guess I have a few questions. Let me ask them in the right order. So when did you move here and where did you move first?
1989 in San Francisco, the year and the earthquake. For some of you that
was a big one. Yeah, that was a big earthquake. Yeah.
I was, what the heck is going on here? 1989 and it was San Francisco.
Okay. And then here, so I want to recap. I want to make sure I'm listening and understanding your story. you were part of the family came from the Philippines, right?
That's
And
correct.
more working class, growing up in financial insecurity at the very least. And you ultimately were able to find this liberation, or like you were kind of on the path of going to the general Filipino kind of jobs or the cultural jobs. And accounting wasn't in the sphere, right? Education wasn't there was no one to role model yourself off of in your local community. Is that a fair
Yeah. In
assertion?
fact, I'd take it even a step further. I mean, there's skepticism, right? And I won't name who in my circle, wanted me to be successful and wanted to promote careers that were more realistic for me. But I definitely wanted to do something different, and I wanted to stretch myself a little bit more. And in fact, stretching is probably not the right word. I think if I'm being honest with myself, Devin, I had a chip on my shoulder. I was like, you know what? I want to crack through that glass ceiling and see if someone that comes with from my background and my neighborhood can break through that. And so yeah, I think it was a chip in my shoulder more than anything.
Yeah, and I respect that. And I have similar a similar experience that I don't think a lot of people will appreciate or understand unless they've been in it. Where like I didn't have any accountants or any professionals I knew in my life that I looked up to that seemed like they enjoyed their lives, or I didn't even see it as a path until I went into college and I actually saw someone doing the job and enjoying it. Where then I realized, wow, this is a whole future that I thought was closed out to me. I didn't think that was a potential. It sounds like that was your experience in college, or when did you learn that? When did that open up to you and say, wow, I don't have to follow this mold. I have a different path that I can go down.
Yeah, I remember this distinctly, and let me know if I'm going way too far down memory lane here and take up so much time. But first year of college, I had no idea what the difference was between accounting, finance, like operations and marketing. Like I knew, I wanted a white collar job, wear a suit to work after graduation. Um, but as fate would have it, like accounting makes you take all these different courses, and I took my first accounting class. I was like, wait a minute, there's something symmetrical and like logical about this, and it wasn't as intimidating or daunting as like doing presentations in front of everyone. You just had to understand business and understand numbers and this methodology of debits and credits. Um, so I think the standing point for me was that first accounting course. Then I kind of dug in a little further, went to the career center. I was trying to get more information about, what these careers look like, and really just get more details about like what the nature of an accounting career does. And one of the recommendations actually by an advisor, I haven't told this story for so many years. I don't know if I've told this story ever. One of these career advisors asked me to just like knock on a door, like a CPA or an accountant, and go in and ask if they could be interviewed. And, I'm this buggy eyed, how old was I? 18 or 19 years old, knocking at a CPA's office. I was like, hey, can I spend like 20 minutes with you just to understand like what you do, what your lifestyle is? And sure enough, this was out in Pleasant Hill. I remember in California, with the Bay Area. Someone allowed me to interview him, and I got to learn more about the career, develop stronger interest, from that and others over time. And of course, there's more to the story, but I think that was really what propelled me to keep going with accounting.
Well, and that's such a trip, isn't it? It's just you needed to see it. So many people actually just need to see an example. And those who are in the culture, they don't get that if you're outside of it, it's so foreign. And it was even to me, and it's not just a cultural difference, like from our backgrounds, it's like a socioeconomic difference of like, I had no access to those people. And as soon as I saw someone successful that you could talk to about it, it opens up this whole career, which is why education is so important, right? Like it does show you these different areas, and just beyond education, it seems more like you're saying like apprenticeship or people taking mentees under their wing, but also you being proactive to find those mentors. Is that right?
It's very true, and it's scary too at the same time. So, I've learned how to develop like a more professional lingo over time. But back when I was 18 or 19, coming from socioeconomic background that I did, I mean, I was definitely rough around the edges, not only in the way I spoke, but in my appearance as well. And for someone well, for me to have the courage to go to an office and talk to someone in a suit was definitely, very intimidating. And but I think that chip on that folder I mentioned earlier is what got me fired up to actually go and do that. because you come from a similar background. You don't just go and knock on a door, muster up the courage to strike a conversation with someone that lived a very different life from you. So, um, yeah, it was a lot. It's easier said than done.
You mind if I'm curious too, because I've heard it from a few people, the chip on your shoulder. Was it that someone told you that you couldn't do it? Or what was that chip that kind of stuck with you?
100%. And whether it was explicit, in which in some cases it was, or implied, and I guess this is one way for you to know how to like poke me if you ever need to, Devin. Just tell me I can't do something. I'll I'll figure out a way to get it done. And I don't know how I developed that. It's probably just the way I'm wired.
Oh, similar. I'm similar. So a doctor will tell me, hey, you don't have great knees, or your foot's a little longer than the other. Don't run a marathon. I'm like, I'm going to run a marathon. I don't get it.
Let me prove you wrong.
Yeah, exactly. There's a certain type of person that gets really poked by something like that. So that's interesting. So how does that turn into becoming a CEO? Like that's a huge, there's so many people who become accountants, and then to start your own company. Did that chip stay on your shoulder? Was that the driving factor, or what changed over the years?
Gosh, I mean, I don't think I've also shared this with this lens ever as well. But I've kind of had these internal conversations about myself when I reflect on how I got to where I am. But the chip on the shoulder kind of transformed from, here's this kid from this background and environment that was told you can't, go to corporate America and, wear a suit on the job. Now, when I landed in accounting, and this, Devin, we're not like we're regarded differently from, say, sales and other corporate functions, right? Actually, within even finance, like accounting and FP&A, accounting gives off a different underdog vibe.
That's right.
And so I kind of carried that on. And so, when you hear, and again, sometimes implied, sometimes actually more explicit, when you hear other corporate functions say, hey, just whip me up a spreadsheet and, go do your fancy VLOOKUP formulas. No need for you to understand strategy. Like, that fired me up too. So, I'll skip a few steps, but, of course, I knew that part of the blocker for being able to do more strategic work were the stupid spreadsheets that everyone was relying on me to produce. So, that's where I developed the inspiration to automate. And there's a lot more to that story, but I think that's the short version of it.
So it sounds like that proving you wrong kind of mentality stayed throughout it. Like, hey, don't underestimate me. I can get this done. Even when you went to accounting and you got your license and worked at a top firm, you still realized that, hey, we're still the underdogs. And you kept that, like almost like Rocky. If you ever watched the movie Rocky, it's almost like that momentum, right? Is like, hey, I'm going to prove the world wrong. I can still do this.
That's 100% true. And, unfortunately, I think the accounting industry still has that underdog label. And until we first have to embrace and adopt technology, and, truth be told, we accountants have not been as quick to that over the years, but I think that pace, thankfully, is picking up now. But yeah, I think in short, I think the accounting profession still needs to prove itself that it can contribute more to an organization beyond crunching numbers. And thankfully, there's more technologies out there that are helping us break through that.
Yeah, it's something that always triggered me. I'm not a big fan of the word triggered, but it triggers me when, even at Google, if you were in finance, you got a higher pay rate than if you were in accounting. And then that's all true in a lot of organizations where accountants get a slightly lower pay rate than other finance functions, even though a lot of those finance functions don't have the same certification requirements as a CPA. And it's just a branding, or like I said, the underdog mentality of like, you guys are just doing the spreadsheets, you're just closing the books. Like, come on, like there's so much more than that. And there's a branding issue with the accounting, but I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I'm really curious on how did you go and start your own, like what was the day? Was there a day where you're just like, screw it, I'm going to start my own company? How did that start?
Yeah. So I like to think that I applied very sound logic in getting to that decision. And I applied it very similarly, actually, early in my career. So I was at KPMG back in 2003, around the time of Enron. And I started getting asked by clients, audit clients, whether people like me should be on the other side and helping, consult and get people ready for companies ready for SOT. And so at that particular moment in time, I was doing, my Excel pros and cons. Pros, there's this unique opportunity that I can, capitalize on. Two, I can always go back to a big four job if I needed to. Cons, obviously, there's less predictability and income from something so new. And so I weighed the pros and cons and landed on making a really difficult move, like giving up a really good big four job that I worked really hard throughout my childhood to get to start my own practice. And it was kind of the same thing when it was time for me to have the conviction to move forward with automating and software. At that time, I was leaving the consulting job that in the practice that I went from, and the predictability of the income and the really comfort of that lifestyle back then, to doing this like very hardcore Silicon Valley SaaS-based startup with a lot of risks. And, of course, just like a lot of founders, had to take a big pay cut. And so, but I did the pros and cons, Devin. I have spreadsheets to prove it.
I believe it.
Pros just outweigh the cons.
Well, what I always admire, though, is that so many people get into a good job. And like you said, you could develop the pros and cons. Like getting into Big Four is not easy. Getting your CPA license is not easy. Not everyone makes it there. Moving up at the Big Four is not easy. And then they get stuck. They get like their lifestyle creeps up, and then they kind of get stuck, and they are not willing to take risks. And I see it so many people with my friends, in their 40s, right? It's like they're not fulfilled in their career. They want to take a risk, but they're too nervous. When in actuality, they have the most security they've ever had in their whole life. Like, hey, you have a bunch of money, you have a license, you have a career, you can go. This is the time you can go take risks. Like, what got you through that? The fear, because it's not easy. It's not a decision. You're like, oh, pros and cons. Okay, there's a few more pros. I'm going for it. It's like there's an identity shift. There's a lot there, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it definitely does help though that it was still grounded on some form of logic, which again is like the reason why accounting appeals to me so much, right? Like there's still some methodology involved in making really big life decisions. Beyond that, I think you just have to have and this is where it becomes like less and more squishy and less tangible. Like I think you have to believe in your capabilities. And I know, this is not something accounting leaders say, but I think it's important that we develop our own convictions that we can do something that is hard to do. Because otherwise, we accountants tend to be skeptical about everything. And, as grounded as you are on pros and cons, without that passion, that belief that you can succeed, I needed that to like push me over the edge. And I think it's worked in most moments in my life.
Yeah, and I'm not disparaging the pros and cons list at all. There's definitely, that's how I quit Google. And I think everyone thought I was crazy when I quit Google, and I was doing quite well over there to go do my own thing and work with PCG. And it came down. I did the same thing, pros and cons list. And I was like, hey, I think this makes sense logically. I have a logical explanation for it. But then you also need the drive, right? Of like the passion of, hey, I also am excited to do it. this is also something which is a pro, I guess. So it goes down. I guess the logical formulations, you can't beat them. They always work. What has that journey been like for you though? Like from all of the things you've done, from consulting to Big Four accounting to being a CEO, what have you enjoyed the most throughout this journey?
Yeah. I mean, I think just the growth and the learning, and I think that comes hand in hand with like trying to having that chip on your shoulder, right? Like in order for you to prove that you are more than what people believe in you, you have to accomplish things, right? And for yourself or for accomplishments that are visible to others. And I definitely take a lot of pride in what we built at Gappify, kind of developing the software and getting out to market, first to market type product in accruals management, building the team, going through VC fundraisers, several rounds successfully, which is not something that's easy to do. And for us to actually still exist at this point and growing, I know statistically it's uncommon. So I think taking stock of those accomplishments, it definitely makes this worth it. And just like to watch myself kind of grow and learn new things beyond accounting, right? Running a company, partnering with different functions who have very different mentalities in life, getting to meet people like you, it's kind of just like open up the world to me in ways that I don't think I even imagined when I first developed that chip in my shoulder back in high school. I think it's, thanks to accounting, it's kind of made me a more complete professional and person. And I know you and I spoke as I was coming in. I'm also going through a transition in life right now, where I am stepping away from running Gappify. And, obviously that was, as I mentioned, kind of prompted by health reasons. But, I think just like the decisions I made in life, I shared with you the pros and cons, like there's definitely some kind of logic grounded approach in making these very tough types of calls. But I think in terms of like the passion that I talked about thereafter, just being able to figure out what's next in life and what I want to experience. I have a feeling it's probably outside of accounting once I, go through my recovery process, but, it's an opportunity to continue to grow and stretch and expand myself in ways I'm not quite sure yet, Devin. So you're getting this hot off the press. But I'm just like thankful I'm in a position where, I can make these decisions, have, options and opportunities that I can explore.
Yeah. And I know there's this straight instinct where I want to say like, hey, I'm sorry to hear that's all going on, but it's not. It sounds like it's an adventure. It's like your next journey that you're going to go on. And it sounds like it's well thought. Knowing your pros and cons list, it's well thought through that isn't the right decisions for you. So I'm excited to see what that next step of that journey is. Would you mind sharing with everyone kind of like, it sounds like there's so many ups of the business side, but I haven't talked to enough CEOs on this. Like I know there's the challenges too. And so could you share some of the big highs and lows of what being a CEO or leadership has been like, if you don't mind, with everybody?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the biggest highs is definitely partnering with, people within your team and your customers to just achieve things, right? In the same way that I was laser focused on accomplishing so many things throughout my career, when you can band a group of people from diverse backgrounds and experiences and do something. And I know it sounds cheesy to implement an accrual management software so someone doesn't have to work a weekend anymore. Yeah, obviously there's a lot of things in between implementing a software. Just working together and supporting people at the end of the day to do something great. Again, I know more on the squishy side, not non-numeric side. But that's definitely something I've always taken stock of and am never underappreciated.
Well, you created something. It's easy. Like I'll start to cut you off, but one of my favorite quotes of all time is like, there's no such thing as original thought, only original action. And it is something to bring a whole group of people together around a thought that's probably not that original. Like everyone wants to automate their accruals, but to get everyone and to create that, there's something amazing. You put something out into the world that didn't exist before. And accounting's a bit like that. You're like bringing order to chaos in a lot of ways. But then to create something out of all of that is quite an accomplishment. And not like most people don't do that. And so it sounds like that act of creation, co-creation with other people was just huge for you, right?
And to see it come to life, Devin, and then to know that, several years later, customers are still enjoying the benefits of that effort, whether it's the product, the implementation, and so on. I mean, it's just special. But I was going to say earlier that the kicker, the bonus, the icing on the cake. Oh man, and I could get choked up actually saying this. So I'll try to say this in a plain way. As you're partnering and knocking down those accomplishments, for you to see people around you also grow their own skills, that was just another level. Like I remember starting with some of the leaders here at Gappify, raw in different areas, but then they've not only learned new skills that have made them more effective professionals, but kind of goes back to them believing in themselves. And Devin, I think you and I were at a Giants game a few months ago. I got to watch someone, really be themselves. And I won't give any details because I don't want to give this person away. But I just witnessed real time her develop into a more effective and polished and amazing professional. And I saw it happen live. And those are the moments that choke me up, Devin.
Well, yeah, it's akin to being a father or an older brother or however you want to see it. But there is this growth element, and it's a testament to you. And I'm not trying to just pass around praise, but the best thing a leader can do is build up other leaders. And for you to do that, like not everyone does that. There's a lot of toxic leaders out there that'll throw other people under the bus. For you to do that and recognize that and for it to mean something shows what a stand-up person you are, what an impact you've left, despite whatever you do next.
Well, and selfishly, not to defer, but, I know going into it, and I knew running Gappify as long as I did from the beginning that I wanted that experience, right? So, there's definitely something innately rewarding for me as well, and being able to do that. And, this is where, my over gratefulness sometimes kicks in. Like, thankful for the opportunity to be put in position to help people believe in themselves. But, I know the second part to your question was, what are the downsides of running a business? And, of course, like not every story is a success story. And, we had to move on from people that were underperforming. And in some cases, customers have moved on from us for, issues or mistakes that we've done and have learned from. So, it definitely goes both ways. And I think, kind of in the, standard accounting mindset and practical mindset that I have, like that's how life works, right? Like you're going to have the greats and you're going to have the not so greats, and you try to appreciate and first of all, learn from the not greats and not make those types of mistakes again. But when the good times come, like just gotta like touch it, grab it, enjoy it, and feel it. And so I'm being reflective and particular now because of this shift in my career. But no better time to do a podcast, right, David?
Oh yeah, no, and I appreciate you being transparent and sharing some of these things you've learned, because hopefully I hope it's something that you could look back on in the future and kind of reflect, in 10 years and be like, hey, I did this podcast and where was I at this pivotal moment? So hopefully it's a cool like little treasure, or like archive. But what if you don't want? What's the big change, or like why the change, or like what's going on?
Yeah, well, I don't mind sharing some context, although I won't get into the full extent.
Yeah, only share what you're comfortable with.
Issues.
Yeah.
I think I think my doctor sums it properly. It's bad genes, bad luck. Thankfully nothing along the lines of life threatening, but something that requires immediate attention. And thankfully I've got the chance to course correct in major areas. But you know what? Like, because of that chip in my shoulder, I mentioned to you, I've disregarded, neglected my health for so many years. So I'm surprised that my body held up as long as it did. And I know you and I have seen accounting professionals. We're like so tunnel vision, and probably, for folks like you and me that come from the backgrounds that we did, I think it's just very easy for us to lose track of how important health is. So, I'm going to really appreciate just the opportunity, and I'm thankful for this, the ability to go crazy on like recovery and like be very strategic and just like put a lot of time and effort into it. And at the same time, I'll still get to do some advisory and consulting in the industry. So I'm not going to be fully plugged away from Gappify and the accounting space too. So I'm very fortunate that, this change comes with like some optionality.
Yeah. Oh, no, and I'm glad you're taking care of your health. And I think it's just an important thing. I appreciate you sharing it, because there's two types of people I've seen. I kind of hate saying that, but there's the types of people who watch these kind of things, and then they're aspirational, where it's like, hey, how do I do that? And they're kind of younger and they're excited. But there's also the type of people that I'd say kind of cut from our cloth, or those people might become, where they're so hooked on performing and being conscientious and having the chip on their shoulder. I've been there. And you meet these people, they wind up being, the partners at Big Four, they wind up being the CEOs at companies, and health really takes a backseat. It's really tough to run a company or to be a top performer and also take care of your romantic life, your friendships, your health. And it's not sustainable for a lot of people, especially with how we've made technology nowadays, where like, well, I was at Google, there was times I'd take 3 a.m. phone calls and midnight phone calls, and I'd sleep for 2 hours and get pings in between during quarter end. And then I'd wonder, I'd go to the doctor and be like, why am I having trouble sleeping? And they'd be like, well, you're working 20 hours a day. Yeah, how are you supposed to sleep? And like, where are you supposed to sleep? And I'm like, yeah, but I need to work. So there's that dark side that really does exist. And maybe, I don't know, I'm always challenging or trying to reflect on like, how can we create a more sustainable life for our leaders, right? So they don't have to, and it's not always just the work environment. A lot of times, like genetics, I have my off genetics. Everyone has things they have to take care of, but how do you build space to take care of those things?
100%. And, I know this opens up a whole another topic or can of worms, depending on how you look at it. But in answering that question of like, how do we create a better path for leaders to do all the amazing things that we want to do, but, allow ourselves to take care of ourselves. And I really do 100% believe that AI is part of that answer. And in fact, I would say that, I know kind of I'm transitioning out now, but in the last several quarters, the intensity is always going to be there. But in terms of like how much I can get done, I think, definitely helping against like the need to work 20-hour days. And, maybe it's like 18 or 16. Yeah, I think it's at least trending in the right direction. And I think as it further advances, I think that's got a good chance of making things more reasonable.
Yeah, as long as we use it right, as long as we don't just become super high productive. Like now we're all doing 10x and going crazy, but hopefully people, I've known it's improved my life. I'll testament to it, like that, just being able to polish and draft emails or automate certain aspects of has cut down drastically on some of my hours, and I get to focus on more high value work. So what's next for you? Like what's the type of recovery plan look like? Have you already thought it through, or what's this next season?
Well, you mentioned AI, right? And I have no issues being open about this. AI, it sounds like, similar with you. I use it for the highest impact parts of my life. And these obviously health is number one. So I'm not going to go to ChatGPT and ask for like a diagnosis based on, how I feel. So that would just be negligent. But, my condition, without going into details, there's like so many different things going on. And so for like AI to kind of just collate all of that, all the different tests and results that I've accumulated from this process, leveraging AI to be strategic about the recovery process and to support with that. Direct me when I need to, flag a doctor because certain pain levels have reached a certain threshold. Um, I guess to answer your question as far as what's next, it's like leveraging AI to get myself organized to take on this multifaceted like health recovery. And I think the more I can just focus on that, and thankfully we've got strong leaders at Gappify that will run the business. It'll operate as normal. In fact, the growth trajectory is still the same that we're targeting there. For me to just focus on that, have the tools now to be more effective at it. Of course, like I can't treat my health like a game, but there's a part of this that is like pretty exciting challenge for me too.
Yeah, you're gamifying, and AI can do that really well. How are you using it? Like, are you just using a variety of chatbots, and are you doing something more advanced or building your own tools around this? How does Jotham optimize AI so I could learn, or maybe the viewers could learn what we could be doing differently?
I'm a ChatGPT guy.
Okay.
That's changed over time. I evolved from like ChatGPT then to Claude and then Gemini, and then I'm back ChatGPT, creating custom GPTs. I think one thing that is interesting to me, I haven't fully adopted this yet, although I need kind of my doctors to play along with it. Just giving them access to my custom GPTs and like for a dialogue to happen through my agent, so to speak. I don't know, it's within their rules or where they can kind of get updates from me, or for me to ask updates of them. But there's a way in which AI can sit in the middle, whether it's interpreting, communicating, that I'm still all trying to flesh out. But I've kind of done the foundational work. I've set up that custom GPT. I've loaded in all of my visit summaries, like X-rays, MRIs, and so on. It's definitely helping me get it organized already. But I think there's like a level of collaboration that can be activated now that baseline is in place.
Yeah, I'm so excited about that stuff. Like, that's where it seems like it fits too, in my perspective, not just with health, but just something I was trying to play with or build a tool around was I'm trying to get in better shape. And so like calorie counting is really annoying. If you've ever done calorie counting, like you have to and normally right now you have to like find an app and enter in a table and find the food and take a picture. You'd be like, man, it'd be so cool if you could just talk to your phone and track your calories. You could do it with ChatGPT, but that doesn't go into a table. And it's like, well, if you had it, it could become kind of like a coach or like a feedback mechanism to a coach. If you were able to talk to it, it tracked it all on a table, and then it gave you feedback. And that's kind of where AI native products are going, is you have this great intermediary where you then can get an expert summary, and then you have your expert apply judgment to it, right? It sounds like that's kind of what you're building. That could be a whole business on the health side. So just be careful not starting a whole new business, on this.
Well, you probably know me enough now to know that I can't help but sometimes think that way, right? But you touched on something that I think is also gets overlooked, or maybe typically seen as more of a negative than a positive. And it's the encouragement. Actually, like ChatGPT can provide you, in my case, as I'm updating it on different pain levels and like successful completion of like some kind of PT session, just to say, hey, you're on the right track, like keep going. That cheerleading part, I appreciate. Maybe not everyone it resonates with everyone in that same way, but when you're dealing with something complex, right, it's good, and I'm still human to get some level of encouragement from these tools, in addition to all the other amazing things that it can do.
And that's a great thing for everyone to take away. I've seen it on a lot of on podcasts I'll listen to, is actually people are recommending, hey, if you don't have a good friend group, talk to ChatGPT, because it at least will encourage you to do good things. And it's something that's it's sad. It's exciting there's a tool there, but it's also a little sad to recognize there's a need there where we're not being good enough friends to each other, where someone can send you a text and be like, you have a friend who's going to be like, hey, great job, let's keep going, most people don't have that person anymore. I don't know what it is, technology or communities or whatever it is, but ChatGPT does fill the hole. But it's also a challenge to everyone else. It's like, how can we all be more encouraging to others? Just like you said with tying it going full circle with your growing your business. The best part of your business was the encouragement you provided to others and seeing them grow and evolve over time. Like, how can we learn from ChatGPT? I guess on that element, right? Because it's something missing from humanity right now.
100%. And yeah, this is a whole other episode on its own, but I think when used properly, and it's capable today of doing so, I believe at least, ChatGPT can help you become more human. And, it's not necessarily just like a reference or something that answers questions, but, in my case, and it kind of ties into the founder persona and story. I mean, Devin, maybe this is the way I operate and unique to me. But being a CEO and founder, you're looked at as obviously the spokesperson of the company. To have it together, I have to show poise and not be rattled so easily, despite some of these things that are happening in my life. Like, ChatGPT allows me to be human. Like, and updated on concerns I have about the split tear I have on my bicep, and without being judged, right? But there's just so many examples where it's helped in my life. And I think people's first reaction or maybe assumption is that I'm going to ChatGPT to diagnose myself or find cures for my stuff, but it can do so much more beyond that.
Yeah, it really can. It's going to be completely game changing. And I like what you said, that the AI can help us be more human. And to that element, like, I hope I know we've talked long enough now. This is the way we have communication now, right? Like, when we're so busy that you have to do a podcast or something. But if you ever wanted some human encouragement, you could always text me or anything, and I'm more than happy to hear everything going on. And that's something that everyone, like, hey, maybe we take a playbook out of how these tools are interacting with us and learn how to be better friends and better colleagues to each other. And it gets silly. I forget, I was talking to another CEO on a hike the other day, and it kind of goes back to everything we understand spiritually. Like, there's a spiritual element to life, business and spirituality and all of this. Spiritual element of, like, what is kind of all the great teachers teach? And then, like, well, you seek truth and you love each other and you take care of each other. And if you ground on that, everything else falls in place. And ChatGPT does a good job of loving in a strange way. It's like it gives that kind of loving, and it also seeks truth. So in an element, it's giving us this. It's letting people re-explore the spiritual element of their life, where they can go and try to explore this stuff honestly. It's very, very strange, but very powerful. And maybe it's the next 80s or 70s revolution where people start getting more in touch with each other because of this tool. But
yeah, Devin, I'm shaking my head here because it's clear that you and I have a lot of similarities. And yeah, I definitely believe that. And I think in my decision making too, and gosh, I'm trying to figure out how to condense this, so I'm not going too far off the ledge here. But you mentioned ChatGPT can help us love and appreciate each other as humans, but it also can help you define, create, reinforce your meaning, right? And so I had to go through that identity moment and meaning moment with this decision in my life, and no doubt, ChatGPT, I didn't ask it to write my meaning of life. I collaborated with it. These are the principles and values that are important to me. It's kind of helped me take this decision from a top-down perspective. And yeah, I know you and I are probably more on the AI fanboy side, but I joke about it, but I think there is just incredible power that people can use today's form of AI. And I think we're too sometimes nitpicky about and focused on hallucinations and trying to point it out and excusing this technology altogether. But I'm making it very clear for me, it's made a huge impact in my life. And yeah, I'm great we live in the times where this technology is available.
Yeah, definitely. Would you mind sharing? And you don't have to. I'm just curious. Did you craft a meaning of life for yourself, or like what are your core values or something with it? I did something similar, so I'd just be curious if you're comfortable sharing that.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's great about AI again is you can just throw a lot of stuff in there, right? You don't have to organize your thoughts. Like, I went from describing the core values I had growing up to where I am in life, like my goals throughout different points in my life. And, of course, it started developing kind of like the trajectory of what it thinks is important to me. And, through several rounds of iteration, and never like a one-shot thing, right? Like you interact, you collaborate, you refine, you correct. But when you know how to do that with the AI, you get something that is, definitely more you than them, right? So, in my case, and I think this is a good thing to share too, that I haven't like shared with anyone, including my family. Maybe entering this phase of my life then, and where experiences matter for me and accomplishments. And I think it's time for me to maybe not have that chip on my shoulder and just kind of like appreciate what's happening in life, including my health, by the way, and not taking it for granted. So, there's a lot more in one's core values and mission statement. But that is one of the key things that ChatGPT helped me get to as a conclusion of where I want to be in life, which is entering this phase where experiences and being present might be more critical for me, especially for my health, than achieving the next big thing.
Wow, man, it's amazing, right? It's amazing that it's such a great self-reflection tool, and I've done it for similar, and I've met other people who are using it for similar ways, and it's just going to be amazing to get more self-aware humans who are going to have more of an impact that matters, like focusing on the things that matter, or to plug my show, Ambition Aligned, to align their ambitions, right, with their actual core values and everything. Okay, we're running close. You're a busy guy, and I want to make sure we close strong. I have a few questions I ask everyone just for fun, and then we'll close it out. But I appreciate you being on, Jotham. So first question, sweets or savory?
Savory.
Okay. What's your favorite sweet?
Chocolate cream.
Oh, okay. I love it. I don't get a lot of cream pie people, but like a banana cream or chocolate cream pie is just so good. What's your least favorite piece of advice that everyone dishes out?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think about the AI one specifically, and just the over-reliance on hallucination and accuracy, which we know is not like feasible with anything or any human. And so I would advise people to like not be thwarted by that, and to allow themselves to discover this powerful new technology still.
Yeah, that's great. People are scared of the hallucinations, but forget that people are full of crap too. I found that it hallucinates less than my friends lie, right? So that's like a big. Last one. What's one piece of advice from everything we talked about today that you wish you said that you didn't?
One piece of advice that I gave during this episode that I wish I didn't.
No. Let me rephrase that. From everything in this episode, is there a piece of advice that you missed that you wish you said?
Okay. I got this advice, and this is like one of the perks of being able to do Gappify for as long as I did. I got a chance to speak to Morgan Stanley's ex-CEO, James Gorman, and be yourself. As simple as that is, like it's allowed me to be the genuine person that I am, that I think has helped me make the right decisions for myself, and also I think get the levels of collaboration that I've been able to, been lucky to have, whether it's customers, people on my team, and so on. So be yourself. I know it's cliche, but I stand behind that 100%.
Yeah, well, I'm with you that the hardest thing to do nowadays is to be authentic. There's so many ways that social media or technology or the expectations of others make us wear masks. And it sounds like you and I have found that AI can help you take away the mask and help you rediscover who you really are. And you're going on this journey with your health now, and I'm wishing you the best and hoping we stay closely in touch and reach out anytime. I'm supporting and encouraging you through that. And it's a testament to you as a leader that you were able to build a place that you can leave and will still grow. And that's what the best leaders in the world do. And you did it, and most people can't do it. So hats off to you, Jotham. A lot can learn from you. And I really appreciate you taking the time today, my friend.
It means a lot. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course.